Hello, everyone, and welcome to Meowmix, a Carolina Panthers podcast. My name is Steven.
My name is Jerry.
And we are here with some great news. Panthers have completed their first round pick of the 2025 NFL Draft.
Yes, and it's shocked most pundits, us. I mean, most
fans, yeah.
most fans. I mean,
Yeah.
they got the man they wanted. That's what
They got Tetairoa McMillan, wide receiver out of Arizona. T-Mac Nalo, another name he's called, Nalo. Yeah, I mean, Jerry, one thing we learned one very important thing last night. You cannot take what they say, what comes out of that place at face value.
No, not at all. I mean, hats off to them. I will say this.
Yeah.
I was a little frustrated with the fact that it seemed like they were already telling people it was Jaylen Walker, just like they did last year with Xavier Legette.
Mhm.
And come to find out, no, they just put a swerve on us, and they got the guy they wanted. So they seem...
Yeah, I'm sure they like Jaylen Walker. There seemed to be a lot to like about him, but we did not hear hardly anything about T-Mac from them specifically. I think they were asked a couple of times, but they were very clear that they liked the receivers they had in the room, and you know that they thought T-Mac was a good player, but like that they weren't prioritizing that. But this I think it very clearly shows that they did go BPA on their board, right? I think it would have been Mason Graham had he fallen, but he got picked at 5. And they went with T-Mac. And let's talk about how we feel. I'm very excited. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I've been a T-Mac believer the whole time. I do believe he is an elite receiver. I think he is going to be one of those 1,000 yards every single year kind of guys for our team here. I'm very excited. I understand that there are other needs, and if you want to criticize the position, I'm open to that, but I think that, man, this was a need too, and they did a really good job of filling it.
My biggest issue with the draft class of T-Mac or any of the other receivers, I wasn't 100% sold on them being a number 1. Well, the brass in the Panther Stadium thought he's a number 1. He's a solid, great number 1. You pick him in the top 8, and he has the stats to back it up at college. And that was one of Dan Morgan's things is, I want to see the stats. I want the dog. I want the guy that actually performs. Yeah. And he has that. And you watch his highlight reel, and you're wowed. Well, I'm wowed, at least on his highlight reels. But there are some issues. Go ahead.
Okay, I don't get your hesitation. Like, this guy did everything you want to see in college, and seems like he's a good kid. He says the right things. Like, what is it that you're not getting out of him?
One of the big things I kept saying is he struggles to get off the press, and that in the NFL, if you can't get off the press, then you're dead in the water. It doesn't matter your size. You're not getting off the line. And
but he has the size. He has the size. He has the strength. Like, that feels just like adjustment that coaching can fix, right?
I'm hoping so, and I think so. Again, I do like the fact that I know it seems I don't know. Maybe my listening to some of the scouts overrode the fact that I see his highlight tapes, and I'm just wowed by him. But it's scary. I guess it's a scary pick because our defense is so bad, where it's like, Jaylen Walker would have easily helped that defense, no matter what.
He would have. But the Panthers did do a lot of work in the offseason on the defense. Like, pretty much everything they did was to address the defense. They got some guys in who have proven run-stopping ability. They got some pass rushers in. Like, they did some things that improved the defense. Like, this is not the same defense that we're running back.
No.
And they still have 7 more picks.
Oh, 100%. And right now, there's a lot of really good, talented players. Like Mike Green, I hate the fact of the off-the-field issues with him. But honestly, he would probably been a top 10 pick without those. The
He's
guy's a
got the talent.
physical
Yeah.
freak. Like, so if we trade up to get him, I would be very ecstatic. You still have the I can't think of his name, the cornerback out of Michigan up there. But sorry,
Yeah.
we're talking T-Mac. We'll go into the later round, the next
No,
round
this
here
is
in a
fine.
second.
This is fine.
I like the pick because I do see the fact that you're gonna have Liggett, Coker, and T-Mac.
Thielen.
No.
Okay.
T-Mac for the foreseeable future. You got them for 4 years or 3 years, depending on Coker. Thielen's here for 1 more year. And I like getting Thielen into this young group and coaching them well. Because Coker and Liggett have talked praisingly about Thielen's help in the locker room and everything else, how to study. And man, if he can insert that with those guys, Bryce has already been working out with him, supposedly vouched for him, saying that he kind of wanted him. And, he's working with him. I'm kind of getting excited about the fact that there's a nice humbleness / get along in that room, in that offense.
Yeah, and it seems like he's a good personality fit. Like he doesn't seem to be a locker room issue, right? As coaches have all come out and praised him, teammates have praised him. I saw quite a few draft analysts, saying that they didn't really see like the taking plays off. Some of the criticism that has come out, that always comes out, around these top guys when other teams are trying to tank them or people that have an agenda or whatever. You always see these negative things come out. CJ Stroud, perfect example, right?
Oh, yeah.
A guy who just got absolutely hammered and turned out it didn't matter, right? T-Mac, I heard a couple of guys say that like some college coaches will tell their wide receivers, hey, if you're not involved in this play, take the play off, rest up for the next one. Like that could very easily be what people are seeing with him, but that video that came out about him watching football or whatever, like he was 19 years old when that came out, and a lot of guys in the NFL don't watch football, so that kind of stuff just didn't bother me at all, right? That kind of stuff just did not bother me at all. You can see what this guy is. He has the prototypical size. He's got play speed. Like he ran a 4.4, between a 4.4 and a 4.5 at his pro day. That's plenty fast enough. That's Mike Evans' speed. That's Larry Fitzgerald's speed, right? Like these guys weren't world-class athletes in terms of sprinting, but they're still able to make great football plays. Jerry Rice, another one. He's not out there running a 4.3, right? But they know how to get the ball. They know how to catch the ball. He's not a guy that waits for the ball to come to him. He goes after the ball. He goes at the high point. He's going to be so good in the red zone, a place where we have struggled for years to score touchdown.
Yeah.
He is going to be such a weapon for Bryce in the red zone. I just, again, other than saying, well, they might have more needs at edge, they might have more need at linebacker, they might have more need at corner. I understand that, but we needed a number one wide receiver as well. For Bryce's growth, for this offense to really take shape with what Dave Canales wants it to be, I feel like this was as big a need as any of those other things.
Again, I 100% agree with you. This offense is looking scary if the pieces fall in place. We have Rico Dowdle and Chuba in the backfield. We're going to have T-Mac, Adam Thielen, Liggett, and Jalen Coker as our receivers. And David Moore. I was going to say, David Moore actually played decent last year, so I'm not going to really knock on him like I have in past. But the O-line's back. JT Sanders and Trimble, if they could take a step like they started to last year.
If they can combine for 700 yards or something,
this offense could be explosive. And Canales has had experience with this big physical freak. He had Mike Evans in Tampa Bay, and Mike Evans had a great year with him. DK Metcalf had a great year when he was in Seattle with him. So I think this is the type of player that Canales, or receiver that Canales really likes. And I'm excited. I'm really excited what they kind of dream up for this whole roster, this offense. I'm also excited about the rest of the draft, but I am very excited. The more I'm talking to you, the more excited I'm getting, just because I'm like thinking about the offense and the weapons they have now. It could be
And
fun.
being able to control the ball on offense helps the defense, right? Like he's going to be a great possession receiver because he can catch the ball in pretty much any scenario. Imagine just a little curl on, 3rd and 6 or something. Like that ball's going to him. And he's going to catch it. It's not going to be an XL situation. Like he has elite hand.
Oh yeah.
So I just think it's again, this was a need. They identified him as the best player available at that pick. Apparently there were some teams sniffing around, but I mean, look how long it was before another team traded up.
Yeah.
Like nobody was wanting to trade up,
There weren't.
or at least give you anything of value for it.
Yeah, I hate when people are saying, "Oh, they could have traded it back and picked him up." Well, you need a trade partner. It takes two to tango, and I'm sure there was a couple teams that called and asked, but they could have been offering nothing. And it's like, at that point, we're going to lose our best player on the board, and it's not worth our squeeze. It's not worth trading back to get something we don't feel is worthy. So,
yeah. And apparently there were some teams that were targeting McMillan very soon after pick.
That doesn't shock me.
I know Dallas was one of them for sure. But yeah. So let's talk about Jaylen Walker. This guy who we had just expected was going to be a Panther last night. He was available. You had quite a few players available.
Yeah.
Right there that would have helped the team. So, Walker ends up going 15 to Atlanta, which I think has been praised as a pretty good pick for them.
I really do like that pick for them, and I hate that I really liked what the Falcons did, like that.
Well, they got two edge rushers,
and I think both of them
essentially.
I think Jaylen Walker's a no-brainer, solid player at the bare minimum.
Yeah,
I think James Pierce has rocket ability, but he could also be a buzz. But I do think he's gonna trend more on the rocket ability.
Of the two, he's yeah. They both have great talent. The potential is very high, and it sucks that we're gonna have to face them for twice a year for the next several years. But they're gonna have to face T-Mac and XL and Coker and JT Sanders as well. So and our offensive line is good, right? And if they didn't draft an offensive lineman, there was some talk that they could potentially do that. So to me, this says, well, we better get Icky signed for that 5th-year option, immediately.
It depends on what they do with the rest of the draft, but I also expect an extension for Taylor Moton if they don't go get an edge in the next 2 rounds. Or not an edge, tackle in the next 2 rounds. Because I could see them waiting off to see if one of the guys they really like fell to them, and if not, be like, all right, we're just waiting, being smart. It's fine by me.
Hey, I like the way they've handled themselves so far. I'm just kind of looking at some of the guys that went immediately after. So Kevin Banks, the OT that we talked about. Surprise, Colston Loveland, the first tight end taken. I thought that was going to be Warren.
Yeah, a lot of people had Loveland over Warren because he has a better ceiling for his receiving ability than Warren.
Yeah. They seem to be, in the hindsight here, they seem to be very close, in terms of grade and everything else. So Mykel Williams, actually the first Georgia edge rusher taken, he was taken at 11. That was a guy that we talked about.
Mm-hmm. I really liked him. Patient, good vision. Needs to work on some of his pass rushing skills, but he has the tools to do it.
Yeah. And then who was probably A couple of the other receivers. Emeka Egbuka.
Ohio State
You know,
receiver. Just say that.
he
Don't have
yeah
to.
he goes to Tampa. So obviously,
That's
that was another team I heard that was in on Tet.
yeah.
They
That's a
were like,
scary prospect of Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and him. Like, whew.
Matthew Golden goes 23 to Green Bay. That was another guy that we had talked about as a potential option for the Panthers.
Yeah, I like that pick too for the Green Bay. I think that fits their scheme very nicely.
I saw somebody tweet, well, Green Bay hasn't drafted a fast receiver who can't catch since Christian Watson, and then they just keep going down the list of all these receivers that they have drafted. But I thought Matthew Golden I think he's going to be good too. But again, you had like a Jihad Campbell linebacker out there. Of course, we mentioned Jaylen Walker, a couple of safeties. So I don't know. I mean, it feels like the draft kind of fell in such a way where it was kind of like your mock draft, right? Where the draft fell in such a way where, you had some options, but T-Mac was just the best player available.
And that's what I think that I really do appreciate Dan Morgan and Dave Canales, the way they're going about last offseason, this offseason. It feels like they have a plan. I was not happy that they were spilling the beans to Leggett or spilling the beans to Jaylen Walker. Well, the beans weren't spilled, and I was fooled. So, overall, I do feel like they have a plan. They came out at the very beginning of this offseason saying that they wanted a number one. They wanted another receiver. Then they backtracked a little bit when DK Metcalf didn't come here. And it feels like they kind of are. Once they pulled back on DK Metcalf, it feels like they pulled their cards closer to the vest just to keep people from knowing where we were going.
Yeah, and we know they made an offer on DK. I think it was, I saw like a 3rd round and a 5th round or something. So obviously they could have, the Steelers got DK for a 2nd, right? So the Panthers could have traded 8 and gotten DK Metcalf and a $30 million a year contract.
I'm happier with the the low price tag right now for T-Mac.
To me, this feels a lot like, would Jaylen Walker have been like a safer pick, do you think? Like that would have been a pick nobody would have complained.
I think Jaylen Walker is a safer pick just because no matter what, in my opinion, that guy's going to be a solid starter in this league.
Yeah.
I could see I don't want to say this, but T-Mac has a bust potential.
See, I don't see that myself at all. I think T-Mac also has a very, very high floor just because how well he can catch. Like, what's he not going to be able to do?
That one of his knocks is not being able to separate.
But you don't see that on the tape.
I mean, I
think that's just because he makes so many good contested catches that you just see, well, there's guys all over him all the time. But I've seen several times where he's separated.
I do like the fact that whenever he's the scramble plays, if you watch him, I was watching just his routes earlier, he does seem to get the eye of the quarterback. And in Arizona, there was a lot of scramble plays, it looked like, where
that's another thing.
He found soft places of zones, gave his quarterback his numbers, and was open for that reception. So I do really like that.
That was something that I had read actually this morning, was when the play breaks down, he's not lost. Right? He knows what to do. He knows where to go. He knows how to get open for the quarterback. One of the small knocks on him was his route running could be a little more crisp. And that could be leading to him not creating as much separation as you'd like to see.
Yeah.
So that is coachable, right? 100%.
And that, who we have in the locker room that's great at that? Adam Thielen.
Yeah.
I 100%.
Canales was a wide receivers coach. Like, we have a lot of people in this building that can help him fine tune those points that will make him the guy.
And before we jump into what's left on this
Yeah.
draft, I I love the fact that Bryce Young wanted him, just because that makes
Mm-hmm.
me feel he's gonna work to make that he vouched for this guy. First of all, I think Bryce Young is going to work so hard to make sure he's a success anyways. So
Mm-hmm.
it makes
Yeah.
me feel nice and shiny inside that our QB is not going to have an issue with our receiver.
Yeah. Well, but yeah. Apparently he was. He was. I think the quote was sitting on the table for him. So I think it's supposed to be standing on the table, but he kept saying sitting on the table. One of my buddies texted me this morning. He was like, "It still feels like Tepper's making the picks here."
I don't.
I kind of disagree with that. I think that this felt like your quarterback wanted him, your coach obviously wanted him, and I think Dan Morgan was like, yeah, he's a great player. Let's take him. So I think this was just a very logical pick. And again, like it just gives Bryce that, safety valve, outlet, big play ability guy. It kind of rounds out the receiver room essentially, right?
I will say this: if Bryce didn't vouch for him, then I could honestly say, "Oh, I could possibly see that." But with Bryce vouching for him, in my opinion, just tells me that everybody else was kind of be like, "Okay, yeah, let's." He's vouching for him. I think we could get this guy. Canales loves big receivers, and yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look at
Yeah.
his highlight tape. It's not like there's a
Oh, he's got tons of talent.
yeah.
Tons of talent. And he's 6'4". Like he's got what you want. He's a little bit lean, but he can put on 10 pounds of muscle easily in this offseason. I think he's going to come out. I think in training camp, not that any fans are going to be there, but I think he's going to look awesome in training camp. Guy, and by the way, like that sucks so much that fans can't come to training camp.
Yeah.
We'll have to talk about that maybe on our next episode, but all right, let's look at the players kind of left on the board here. Now, the Panthers don't pick again until 57 as of right now. Jerry, do you think that they will try and trade up into the second round?
Yes.
Or higher up into the second round?
I do. I think there's a lot of really good players left on this board.
Yeah.
What picks do we have left? I should have pulled that up.
I mean, we've got a bunch left. We've got obviously 57. We've got 74. We've got so 74, and then we've got the 9th and 12th picks of the 4th round, the 2nd and 8th picks of the 5th round. So I mean, they could easily package, maybe like one of their 4th round picks along with their 2nd round pick to move up 10 spots, something like that. But some of the guys, I think that probably Mike Green won't fall too far, I would imagine. Will Johnson, that cornerback, I heard that there was some questions about
the injury,
his health. Yeah. So that's, this is a top 10 talent that has fallen down to the 2nd round.
I would be ecstatic if they got Will Johnson.
Yeah.
You pair him with
that's the
JC
corner out of
Horn.
Michigan, by the way.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. You pair him with JC Horn. Future would be so bright on that secondary. Mike Jackson did good. Will Johnson, though, I think would be another star corner.
Yeah, as long as the health stuff works out. But even then, if you're taking a guy with this kind of talent in the 2nd round, even if the health stuff doesn't work out, like you had to take the shot.
Yeah.
It feels like, right?
And you can't blame him. Like, if he fails, it's like, okay. You took Jonathan Brooks, who had injury concerns last year. Why are you shying away a cornerback?
Exactly, yeah. Nick Emanwari is a safety out of South Carolina. He's the number 1 safety on the board.
Yeah,
6'3", 220.
Yeah, he's the Jeremy Chin lookalike.
Yeah. That would be an interesting pick. Safeties tend to fall.
Yeah.
Donovan Eziaraku, Boston College edge. Another guy who was kind of slated to potentially go towards the end of the 1st.
Yeah, a lot of people really like
one.
him. I didn't do enough research on him to really talk. Shavon Revel, another cornerback out of ECU. I've heard a lot of high praise out of him. He's a bigger guy, 6'2", 194, out of East Carolina, if I didn't say that.
Yep.
He did tear his ACL, though, last year, so...
Yeah, that's not great. I don't love that.
Yeah. I mean,
You know,
honestly,
we-
once you go back down, I mean, there's a lot of good... Luther Burden's still available. Wow.
Yeah, but they're not going to take another
No.
receiver. Can't imagine.
No.
Yeah.
I'm just, like,
But there
looking
are
at
a lot
who's...
of players that could go ahead of some of these edges.
Yeah. There's
Yeah.
not many edges, to be honest with you, which kind of shocks me. Mike Green, Donovan, and then once after that, I mean, you're looking down at Jordan Birch, JT Tumaloa. So honestly, jumping back up might be what you have to do.
Princely is still out there, right? He's a guy that has gone in a lot of mocks, at least to the Panthers.
I thought Princely's gone.
No, he's still out there. Ole Miss. He is ranked as the 15th best edge in the class.
Okay, so
Yeah.
yes. Sorry, I'm on ESPN and they have a different ranking system on him. They have a very easy to see best.
Oh, I'm on
available.
ESPN as well. But I'm sorted by edge, so he's there at number 10 on edge.
There's Femi Lateo out of UCLA.
ESPN has 9 edges ranked higher than Princely, so like one of these guys is going to come to us, even if we
Braden
stayed at
Swinson.
57.
Yeah, that's actually. I'm not a big Nick Scouridon fan, but yeah, there is more
Yeah,
than
some of
I
these
thought.
guys aren't. Yeah, some of these guys wouldn't be great fits for the scheme, but there are still a lot of really good edges left out here. Guys that are, ranked at least higher than where we're going to be picking. So a lot of good linebackers out here as well. You had Schweichinger from UCLA, guy that we talked about a little bit. We liked Chris Paul Jr., another guy we talked about a little bit that we liked.
Stutzman. Danny Stutzman out of Oklahoma.
Stutzman. Yep. Couple of good safeties still out here as well. And then corners, after Will Johnson. You mentioned Ravel. Trey Amos out of Ole Miss is highly ranked. Benjamin Morrison. Azaria Thomas, who we both picked in our mocks.
Darian
He's
Porter,
still out there.
Who they really had interest in very early on in the draft process. Then I haven't heard anything again. So who knows? That could happen. They could be keeping stuff
and
close.
there's some good defensive tackles left out there. Like there's still some really, really good players that the Panthers could very easily draft. I would be shocked if they went offense.
I would be too.
With their second pick. I imagine their second and probably their third picks as well are going to be defense. But there's still some really good players. I'm really excited. What time does the second round start?
I think
Like
7.
6? Okay. The second and third round tonight. And then the rest of it tomorrow. Yeah, man. So let's make our predictions. Who are the Panthers taking in the second round?
I'm gonna go Darian Porter. I mentioned that I still have a sneaking suspicion that they really liked him and they're keeping quiet on him. Former receiver, big body guy, fast. Just has
He's
played
a corner.
Yeah,
for the listeners out there.
He just played a couple years as a corner, so he's still raw. But I could also see Evero seeing rawness and being like, I got that.
Yeah. I think they go with an edge. If I'm gonna kind of guess here, I'll kind of look towards maybe a Jordan Birch out of Oregon or Tuimoloau out of Ohio State. One of those guys. So I'm just gonna go edge, and I'll for the sake of being fair here, I'm gonna go the JT Tuimoloau guy.
I was gonna say you're the one that asked me for a specific name, and you're not gonna give me one.
No, I was talking it out. All right. Any thoughts on Shedeur Sanders? If he falls to the 4th round, should we take him like we did in our mock?
So I still don't. I do understand his falling, but it wasn't as shocking, in my opinion.
I think it was a little shocking that he fell all the way out of the 1st round.
True, but like,
I mean, he is a talented thrower
He,
of the
he,
football. He is
he
extremely accurate.
he's a mid to late first round talent, but you
Yeah.
gotta endure the arrogance and everything else that Deion
There's
Sanders family
there's a
brings.
circus. There's a
And
circus that follows him. Yeah.
I could see a lot of teams shying away, even though I know he's probably going to go to Cleveland with the first pick of the second round, which is going to be hilarious. Going
That would
from
be
Deshaun Watson
yeah.
circus to the Sanders circus. Not the same circus. Let's be honest. Sanders has not done anything illegal that we know of, or anything shady like that.
Yeah. Let's see. Just looking at who the Hard Knocks eligible teams are.
We're one.
I know we're one. There's like four of them or something. But I wonder if Cleveland's one of them.
Do they want to go back to Cleveland? I feel like they do Cleveland every couple years.
I feel like if they had Sanders, right? They would definitely. Probably there's 20 teams that are eligible. So
Oh, it says 20 teams?
20 teams, I guess, that are eligible. Maybe only 4 or 5 they can actually force to do it. I don't know. But either way, do you think Tet gives the I mean, is that more of a possibility that Hard Knocks comes here? I really want Hard Knocks to come here. Like, I understand it's a distraction, but I just want to watch it so bad.
I could honestly
As
say,
a fan, I really want to see it.
I could see them picking us. I mean, or I say us as I'm on the team, but because of the simple fact that Bryce Young had a resurgence. You got a young, energetic coach in Dave Canales. You got Leggett, who's a character.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you got a rebuilding defense. You know, you got a star-studded defensive coach in Evero. You know, I could see them trying to hype that up, and there is some interesting storylines taking place. The savvy veteran Thielen coaching up the young guys.
There's definitely some interest here. I mean, they would find good content. Cleveland does not look like they're an option. So even if they do take Shedeur Sanders, probably not. Okay, well, anything else you kind of wanted to talk about with the pick or with the rest of the draft?
I'm excited. I'm excited for the rest of the draft. I know tomorrow I'll probably start getting burnt out on getting guys that I barely know, but
well, yeah. Once the fifth round rolls around, like I'm just checking my phone at that point. I'm not really sitting there watching. But I will watch tonight.
Then watching their highlights after they're drafted and getting their updates and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, do the Panthers trade up in the second round? Yes or no?
I hope so. I'm fine if they stay at 57, but they also package some of their 5th and 4th round picks to maybe get back into the second round or so.
I think if you start seeing a run on edges, they're going to get real nervous. And I could see them moving up.
Yeah.
I just hope they don't trade their 3rd round pick.
Yeah, that's.
I'd like to at least have 1 pick in every round, the first 3 especially. But
I mean, if we get two twos instead of a 3rd, I'm okay with that. It's not happy, but
yeah. Well, two twos would be better than a 2 and a 3.
Yeah, but you're also probably getting rid of those 5s and 4s too. Let's be honest at that point.
Yeah, I guess you could trade. You could give like 57 and 74 and just package those 2 and move up. But then you're left with only a. Yeah. Then maybe you'd package a 4th and a 5th and move back into the 3rd.
Yeah.
There's ways to do it.
All right, we want to thank everyone for listening. If you like the show, please let your friends know. Please follow us on Twitter at Meowmix Podcast. If you have any questions or comments, you can email us at mailbag@meowmixpodcast.com and leave us a 5-star review with a comment on Apple Podcasts. We'll read it on the show.
We will be back probably Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah.
To recap the rest of the draft here. We may go tonight or tomorrow if we are really excited about one of these picks tonight, but we'll definitely have a recap on Sunday where we talk about the whole draft and everything. So until then, everybody stay safe out there and keep pounding.